So everyone, welcome to our October baking session where we're going to be baking Tarragon Chicken Casserole, which I can't wait for because chicken is my favorite meat. I don't eat much meat, but chicken is my favorite. I'm going to introduce our lovely Penny, who will be taking us through the session. Penny is a blind veteran who served 22 years in the Women's Royal Navy and was the first woman to hold the rank. Been doing some research on you, Penny, which I think is amazing. And obviously, as most of you know, Penny is local to us in Fareham and is blind, and gives us lots of great information about different methods on how to bake in our kitchen. So without further ado, I will pass you over to the lovely Penny. Hello.
Hello, and you know, I'm now giving you a twirl, but thankfully none of you can see it. Good morning, everybody. What we're making today is tarragon chicken, and I'm making this because I wanted to show you the principle of making a very simple casserole, which actually I've used in all sorts of different ways with different ingredients, and I'll chat to you about it later. But I just want to get us going. So forgive me also, I'm using a hot plate which is sitting on my work surface here, which I haven't used before. So if it all gets frizzly, it's not my fault, it's this new piece of kit. So it's just an electric hot plate, and I'm going to switch it on, and it's going on, and I'm going to put into this pan. I've got one of my great big Le Creuset saute pans here, which is about, ooh, that was something hitting the floor.
Oh,
my assistant will find a oil bottle. I'm going to put in here about, well, I have no idea. I'm just pouring oil. It says a tablespoon in the recipe. And so I'm just putting oil in. And then I'm going to put in a knob of butter, for which I'm going to use knob of butter going into the pan. And I'm not hearing much sizzling from this pan. I'm putting my finger in, it's feeling vaguely warm. Right, yes, it is heating up. Psst, that's my finger. Psst,
oh, don't cook your finger.
Oh no, don't do that.
Right, so what I've got in here, when that's heated up, I'm going to add some chopped onion, just roughly chopped, and some chopped garlic. And this is actually garlic from the garden, which is amazingly tiny. So normally I would say 4 or 5 garlic cloves for this amount of chicken. Actually, this has taken about 10 because they are the size of fingernail pairings. And they're just roughly chopped, and they will go in here. And this is all starting to melt now, but is going to take a little time. So while that progresses, I'm going to find my chicken thighs, which I have here. Now I've got a big sort of plastic box of chicken thighs, and what I'm going to do is remove the skin. So it's just like,
oh God,
is that somebody objecting to skin removal? It comes off. If I said like taking gloves off, they just come straight off. And what that is removing is, for some people, it's a bit of flavour. It's also quite a lot of fat. And if you're not seeing, it can be quite difficult to manage that skin. So that's why I'm taking it off. And in a minute, we'll be able to just put the chicken straight in. Now, somebody was sort of suggesting that they don't eat much meat. Is that the case?
Well, I don't eat much meat either, but Supriya, yeah.
I mean, I was using the same sort of recipe, and I would use, if I was making just a vegetable casserole, I would do pretty much the same as this. And in fact, also at the weekend, I was using the same sort of method for a rabbit casserole.
Oh,
So, so I'm going to put in my onion, if I can find it. This is the fun of being a blind person, as you pick around trying to find the wretched aha, onion.
excellent.
I've chopped it beforehand, so I've just got a plastic bag of onion pieces. They're going to go into the pan. They may not make much sizzle. In fact, they make no sizzle, but they will later on. Oh yes, you can just hear it. Can you pick that up?
Tiny
Yes,
bit.
just about.
Yep. So I'm just spreading that out across the bottom of the pan. Now, often I would start this type of dish, as I am now, on top of the cooker while I sizzle off the onion, soften the vegetables. So when I was making the rabbit casserole at the weekend, I did this with the onions, then I added carrot, leek, swede, carrots, sorry, I said carrots, didn't I? All sorts of other vegetables, and softened it all up. And so I've got the vegetables pretty par cooked before I add liquid, bring that up to temperature, and then add the meat. Now, I don't know how many of you've got talking thermometers, and I cannot commend it highly enough to have one. And mine is a long one. So if you think it's got a probe that's at least a foot long, that goes into a handle bit where I press a button and it will talk to me. And I'll show you that later on. And so that I'm using that thermometer to check whether meat's done or whether cakes, pardon me, and bread are done.
Right.
And so meat, if I'm using chicken, I like it to be at least 70 degrees. People like Heston Blumenthal will say 65. Well, that's okay. If you're in a restaurant, they're going to say 75 because they're all worried about food safety and all that sort of thing. But also, I'm fairly confident about the source of my chicken. So I know it's coming from a good quality place. It's not going to be full of salmonella and all the other stuff. But I would say at least 70. And that 70 isn't just, you know, on the skin of your chicken or your meat. You need to push it through to the thickest part, not onto the bone, because bones conduct heat. So they will be hotter than the meat around them. So a fat piece of chicken thigh, push it in, not to where you hit the bone, and see what the temperature is. And often with the thermometers, the first temperature you get is not the accurate temperature. You need to hold it there, give it another press, listen to it, perhaps give it another press, and so that the temperature will slowly go up as the thermometer takes the reading. Right, I've now got garlic in there as well. I was going to throw away a pot that had the garlic in it. And this is just softening up now. I talked to you about the rabbit casserole, and so I did exactly the same, but with more vegetables. I've also done this sort of recipe with chicken. And again, thighs are very good because they are firmer meat. They don't break up so much. They don't go so dry as chicken breast. They're quite manageable. I'm using chicken thighs with the bone in. You can buy chicken thighs with the bone already out. I think it's up to you as to how well you manage it and how you eat your chicken.
Yeah, I struggle a lot with the bone, anything kind of bone. I just try to avoid, especially when I'm out. I'm just like,
Yeah, I'm like that.
Really?
Unless I can pick it up with my hands and then I'll eat it.
Yes. Well, I find with the chicken thigh, because you've only got one bone in it, it's quite easy to manage. I tell you what, rabbit with thousands of little tiny bones was much trickier.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Right, so this is all sort of starting to soften up. Now, the other way I would do this is perhaps I wanted to make a more Mediterranean dish. So at this stage, I would be adding pepper. You know, those nice big red, gold, green peppers. So I would have those in little cubes, add those in now. I might add a little chili. I'd add tomatoes. And what I'm trying to do is generally get something that's quite soft by the time I've sauteed it for a while. And that is going to be the base of my sauce. And in a way, I suppose I am poaching the meat in the sauce until it reaches the right temperature. I find that's a much better way of making sure that the meat doesn't dry out. Do you know what a sous vide is? Does anybody?
No.
Well, on things like MasterChef, etc., 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 they have these things called sous vides, and they are water baths. And basically, it's a big tank of water that you can electrically manage the temperature very precisely. So I could set it, even as a blind person, to 70 degrees, and it will stay like that. If I was cooking a belly of pork, I would cook it in there for 36 hours. So I take my belly of pork and I put it in a special plastic bag with some salt and pepper, perhaps a knob of butter or whatever, and then I vacuum pack it. So I've got a vacuum packer. They're not desperately expensive, way under £100. Vacuum pack it, and then you lob it into the sous vide, which is already set at 70 degrees. It takes a while for the sous vide to come back to temperature because obviously you've added something cold to it. And then you just count your 36 hours from there. So with this rabbit, I was doing it for 3 hours at 70 degrees. And rabbit is a very difficult meat to cook. It tends to dry up very easily. So I had done it like this, and it came out and it was really lovely and succulent. So for me, as a blind cook, a sous vide is a really great piece of kit.
Penny, you're talking of the sous vide.
Yes.
Another piece of cooking equipment I've used at times in the past is a bain-marie. It sounds sort of similar, but it sounds more precision in terms of temperature.
It is more precise than a bain-marie. And some of the things that you would make in a bain-marie, you can also make in a sous vide. But again, the point about a sous vide is that you're putting the heat right next to the ingredients. So in an oven, you're putting, a pan or a pot or whatever of food into the oven, and you're waiting for the hot air to hit that pan, go through the pan, and heat your ingredients. With a sous vide, you are cooking at lower temperatures, because I'm talking about 70 degrees. You wouldn't very often cook at 70 degrees in your oven. And it's because the heat goes through the plastic bag, because it's in the water, and goes straight into the food. So it's, in some ways, it's a more economical way of doing things. The other thing with a sous vide is that you can reheat in it. So perhaps, I've got these rabbit casseroles, they're in their plastic bags. I put some in the freezer. I can come back, defrost the bag, and throw the bag into the sous vide for an hour, wait for it to come up to temperature, and just pour it onto the plates. Bing, bang, bosh. This is now coming on pretty well. My onions are softening up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my chicken thighs, and I'm just putting them flesh side down around this pan.
But it smells lush.
Yes.
Garlic and
Now,
onion.
Mine does.
Are you making one as well?
Yes.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes.
Anyone else baking along? No, just Ashton. Well done, Ashton.
Thank you.
So I'm pushing my chicken down to the base. I've got a little bit of skin, which I'm going to put into the bin or other place. And really, I'm just going to hold those in there, turning this chicken over. And I can feel it because I can now feel each piece of chicken, and I can feel the hot bits of the skin. Some lemon rind. I've zested my lemon this morning. And I have to say, a zester is one of the key bits of kit that I love to have. I use it all the time in fruit salads, savoury salads. You'd be amazed when you can use zest from fruit. So there's the zest, and I'm going to cut my lemon in half. And I've got one of these very old-fashioned lemon squeezers, which
So have I.
It's a wooden handle, and on the other end there's a pointy bit with sort of, I don't know, grooves all the way down it. So you stuff it into your half of lemon. You ignore boring things like pips, and I'm just squeezing it in, and you can hear it, can't you? Starting to sizzle as the juice hits the bottom of the pan. So in that goes, that's half a lemon, and that's how quick it is and how little washing up that is.
Excellent.
I'm afraid I'm a bit of a fan of not much washing up, because not much washing up means not much drying, and particularly when you can't see, not much putting away.
No.
So I do tend to try and do everything as easily as possible. So there's the lemon in. Right. I think I said a glass of wine.
Yes.
To drink? Is that to drink while you're cooking?
I'm going to try measuring a glass of wine, and I may just ignore that measurement.
Well, I've actually bought a mini
large glass of wine. And that's going in. Oh yeah, that's the right noise. I'm just going to see how much I've got left in the bottle. Oh, sorry. 2 large glasses of wine. You could choose.
Is that
And
red
don't
wine,
forget,
Penny?
because it's getting hot, you will be burning off the alcohol. So this is not going to be a boozy dish. And it's going to start coming back up to temperature. While it does that, I have 2 chicken stock pots. Now, do you remember Marco Pierre White started by advertising these? I think they are now available from other food sellers. So, for example, I think Tesco's now does these, which might be, I don't know what the difference in price is. I don't know what the difference in quality is, but I find them nice and easy to use because I can just pop them straight in to the pan, or in this case, which you haven't seen, is straight down the side of the pan. So I now have this little gelatinous jobble, which is like a snail, which I have fished out from the top of the hot plate and thrown back in the pan. And somewhere I have.
There's the wine. Very handy.
Oh, can you see my other stock pot, please?
Right.
I've got it. Right, so that's 2 in. Now, we would say salt and pepper, but don't forget these sort of pots have quite a lot of salt in them. So I would be quite cautious about adding too much salt at this stage. But what I will do is be generous with pepper, which I have here. I have a really super duper pepper mill, and it's an electric one, because when you can't see, it's very difficult to know where your plate is when you're grinding with 2 hands on a pepper mill. But this one, because it's electrical, I could put one hand on the side of the plate, the side of the pot, and press with the other one, so I know where the pepper is actually going, where I want it to go, rather on the tablecloth or the work surface or somewhere else.
That's good.
And allegedly, I don't know, I gather they have lights. So if you want to light up your meal for one of those ghastly pictures they put online, you can light your meal with your pepper pot as you grind it.
You light up in my nails with your smile down.
Puke. Right. Now, somewhere I have a stirring. Thank you. Okay. So that is now starting to bubble. How's yours going out there?
It's going well. I'm just about to put my chicken stock in.
Yeah, I have got here somewhere my box of tarragon. And again, this is lovely and fresh from the garden. And I haven't chopped the leaves. We've literally just torn them off, pulled them off the branches. So I've got loads of it. And that's why I like this dish, because it uses things that we've grown in the garden.
Brilliant.
So the tarragon's gone in. Just finding my wooden spoon. Okay, just mixing that all in. And literally now I am going to put the lid on. Somewhere. I have a lid, I know.
Who's moved ahead?
No. Alan,
Yes.
can you tell me where my lid is, please? I've got a little bit of wine left, so I'm not going to waste it. Let me go in.
Good.
Thank you. Now, depending on time, I would let that cook as slowly as possible. So what I could do is I could put it into the oven on a low temperature with its lid on. I could put it into plastic bags and vacuum pack those bags and cook it in a sous vide on 70 degrees. Well, at the moment, I'm cooking it on the equivalent on the top of the cooker. I'm going to turn the heat down after a while and just let it just cook along, simmer along, because I do not want to cook that meat too fast, too hot. The last bit I will have to do is just to thicken up that sauce. And because I put in quite a lot of wine, there's going to be quite a lot of sauce with this. So we're going to have it for lunch today. So it'll be tarragon and lemon chicken with mashed potato straight out of the freezer and defrosting, and some Swiss chard that we will pick from the garden. Right, but first I've got a little bowl here and some corn flour. I'm going to take 3, probably because I've used extra wine, 3 heaped teaspoonfuls of the corn flour into the bowl, and then I will add a little bit of water to it later on. Do you know what this is called? It's called slaking your corn flour.
Ah.
It's one of those, you know, ye olde, not very technical words for that cooks use. So I'm just going to run a bit of water out of the tap.
I like slaking lime as well. Remember that?
Sorry?
You slake lime as well.
You do?
So in preparation for using it as a mortar.
Yes.
Or a wash.
Yes, you do, don't you? So really all I'm doing is stirring up this bit of corn flour with the water, swilling it about.
Do you do that each time you use corn flour to thicken up, Penny? Mix it with water before you add it?
Do I only use corn flour? Was that the question?
No. Do you use that method each time you use corn flour to thicken up a sauce? Because when I've used corn flour, I've just thrown the powder in the sauce and mixed it.
I think you're taking quite a risk then.
Yeah.
Because corn flour will start thickening and cooking off as soon as it gets near heat.
Right.
Whereas if you do it
mine
in
has.
liquid like this, you can pour it through your sauce and it will spread out and you can stir it in much more easily.
Yeah.
The way you're doing it, your risk of lumps is much higher.
Oh, I always have lumps. So that's a good tip. Thank you for that. I will remember that next time I use it.
But by this stage, you know, you could use one of the other bowls or boxes that you've been preparing ingredients in and throw your corn flour in that, swill it around with some water, then throw it in.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't add much to the washing up.
No.
Right, I'm just going to get my thermometer. So I've got it here. It's got a little sheath that you can hang it onto your apron with. And I'm just measuring this. I suppose actually this probe is about 8 inches long, something like that. And so I'm switching it on now. Let me just, that's it just going on. 32.1 degrees Celsius. So it's reading the temperature here as 32, which is really warm. That's just the room temperature.
Right.
But it's close to the, yeah, it's going down now. It may have. Right, this is just to show you where we are with this chicken. 44.5 degrees Celsius. I'm just putting it in. 44.5 degrees Celsius. 50.9 degrees. Can you hear it going up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why I'm saying to you, don't just go for that first temperature. So I'm going to find another piece now, put it in. Do I touch the bone? Or touch the bottom, actually. I'm touching something hard, coming out a little bit, so I know I'm not taking the bone temperature.
46.6 degrees Celsius. 46.6 degrees.
Can you hear that? It's only about 46.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn everything over in the pan, which will just help it cook on the other. Oh, there's quite a lot of liquid in this pan. I've been rather generous with the wine. Oh gosh.
Well, you can't waste it, can you?
No.
Not want not.
Well, it was a bottle of wine that I'd opened the other day, and I saved it specially for you. How's that for self-control?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Wonderful.
It's a very nice bottle of a French rosé. Right, that, can you hear in the background? That is just my thermometer cooling down. I'm putting it back on. I'm going to switch the thermometer off. So that takes 2 presses, a long press rather. And that should now be off.
Okay.
So can you see this sort of method that we're using? So
Yeah.
you've done it with onions, garlic, get those softened up, put in some chopped peppers, get those softened off, lob in a tin of tomatoes or some chopped tomatoes, bring those up to a temperature, put in any other herbs. So if I was doing that sort of dish, a sort of Mediterranean dish, I'd be putting in chopped rosemary, chopped thyme, perhaps some marjoram, other herbs that you like. And then I would be putting in my chicken and I'm poaching it. And it's a very manageable way of doing it. And then as your chicken is coming up to temperature, your 70 degrees, then I am going to add my corn flour. And the point about the corn flour is it will take a few minutes to cook. So you don't want to get your chicken, boiling away. It just needs to do that last few bits with the corn flour in there. If I was doing it with the Mediterranean vegetables, I might have put in some chopped courgette. I might throw in some black olives, some pitted black olives. So therefore you would have a really super Mediterranean dish. This is more of a French dish with French tarragon, which is always better than the Russian tarragon you can buy, but it doesn't survive winter so well. And lemon, very simple, nice with all sorts of other vegetables with it. I said I've done it with rabbit, with lots and lots of vegetables. And again, the whole concept of poaching the fish, the meat, in this sort of stock and vegetable mix that you've made, because the vegetables will survive longer because often they're harder, more firm, and vegetables traditionally need a much higher temperature to cook than the meat. So the meat, we've talked about it being at about 70 degrees. To boil a potato or a carrot, you tend to be looking much more to 80 to 100 degrees. So you've got all your vegetables softened to just about where you want them. Then you add liquid and you're still cooking them, and they will be putting some of their flavor into that liquid, but they're not going to get mushy because the liquid's not going to be that hot. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So we're just waiting for this to come up to temperature.
Penny,
Well,
before you move on,
yes.
could I just query with you? I was assuming all along that you were going to put it in the oven to finish cooking.
I could.
What's the pros and cons of just continuing to cook it on the hob?
Sheer laziness.
And honesty.
If I was doing it in the oven, I would probably want to be putting other things into the oven.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I might be doing some potatoes in the oven, might be potato dauphinoise. I might be cooking a pudding in the oven. Sometimes you don't want to use, and what have we got next month, is all this environmental stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might not want to use all that energy just to one pot. So I might just be pottering along doing this on the top of the cooker. If I take this off, can you hear? This is spluttering.
Yeah, mine's starting to stop.
So it's slightly bubbling, which is probably hotter than I might always do it, but I'm conscious of you being here today. And let me just get this, get my probe up the right way.
Mine's sputtering.
What that is also doing, it's reducing your liquid. So and what I always find is people cook chicken far too long. Well, that's done. That's done. So I'm going to find my bowl of corn flour. I'm going to give it another stir. One of the things then, when you, and I'm using a finger, I confess, because it's too difficult to find a teaspoon. the corn flour settles to the bottom. So I've just lobbed that in, giving it a stir around. And in honesty, by the time that comes back to the boil or a splutter, the corn flour is going to be pretty well cooked.
29.8 degrees Celsius.
And how long has that taken us? Half an hour at most?
Yeah.
Yeah.
27.
Just trying to switch this that's the thermometer off.
I need to get one.
I'm
of
going to
those.
switch this off now.
Yeah, I'll need one of those.
I'm going to put the lid back on, and the corn flour will just finish cooking in that residual heat. And that, so you see, if you wanted to serve it for a dinner party or something like that, I would have put it, thrown that in the oven now on the very lowest heat I could do, and that would just keep it warm for that next half hour or so.
Yeah.
Everything else ready. But that's a very quick meal, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no time at all.
Yeah. And it's bubbling like stinking. I've switched
I
off
can
the
hear
power.
it.
Yeah, mine is as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much quicker than I anticipated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, like you say, we do end, because we're so worried about chicken and salmonella and that, we do tend to overcook chicken, for
Oh,
long
yeah.
periods to make sure it's all done. But with the thermometer, obviously, it makes life a bit more easier to know exactly what temperature it is.
They're
Yeah,
about,
exactly.
I am going to make sure this is actually switched off because it's still bubbling like stink. I'm actually going to unplug it. Any questions? Any thoughts?
Well, I tried the other week we did apple crumble.
Yes.
You showed us I actually tried that. I can't even remember which day it is now. I can't remember what day it is today actually, but I tried it a couple of days ago, and it turned out really nice, and it literally disappeared within like 24 hours. My
Yes.
sons and my husband were just like, yes, this is nice, we're eating this. So it went, but yeah, it turned out really well with the nuts that you put in the crumble and everything. Really
Oh
nice.
yeah.
Yes, it's so much better, I think, than the usual crumble topping, which is just flour, sugar, and butter. By having the oats and the nuts, it really gives it a bit of interest, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I did. It was blackberry and apple that I did.
Yes.
Crumble. And with my husband and my uncle, my uncle came down from Somerset and they went blackberry picking for me because I just can't do it. You reach out to where the
Yes.
bush is and then you end up picking yourself. So yeah, but it's really, really nice. So yeah, thank you for that tip of the nuts.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, I'm going to show you what I've made here. And I'm not going to try and hold it up because it's a big, heavy, hot pan. But I don't know whether your camera can pick it up. But nobody could see, so nobody knows. Anyway,
I can see a little bit. I can see a silver thing in your hands.
Yeah.
the lid.
Oh, the lid.
So that too, I can play cymbals.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
don't think the camera is low enough to see your
Okay.
creation.
Alan, can you come and move the camera for me?
Mm-hmm. Would you like to do that?
We just want to be able to see what's in the pan.
Can you see now?
That's better, yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that.
That looks delicious.
Can I promise you, it will be.
Absolutely.
Can
What would you serve it
What
with?
I would do with
Penny?
this,
Would
we'll
you have rice or potatoes or something?
yes, I'm being really lazy today, and as I said, I made some mashed potato the other day, and it was in the freezer, so we're just defrosting that. But yes, rice. You could do it with pasta, with potatoes, jacket potatoes, whatever you like. You want something because you've got lots of liquid, something that will absorb the liquid and make it into a nice slurry for you. Some green vegetables. What I will also do is I can't remember how many pieces of chicken I've got here. It's probably about 8. I will put those into my famous Lakeland boxes with some of the juice, let them cool, throw them in the freezer, and then I've got meals for other days. So
Indeed.
that's one of the things I like to do is make big pans of food. So it might be a curry or this sort of chicken. It might be the Mediterranean chicken I talked about. It might be all sorts of different things. I only want to cook one pan at a time, but then I freeze it. And so we've got a whole selection of food in the freezer, which we just take out the night before. We've got a hot meal for lunch and not too much effort.
Love it. But I just say, Penny, I think that's Ashton is showing her. Is that your creation there, Ashton?
Yes, it is. Mine's just, yes, it is. Mine's just pretty basic. It's just wine and the flour and the chicken stock. I thought I had some chicken, had some chopped tomatoes, but I don't.
It looks lush. I'll be round in a minute. You're just down the road from me, so I'll help you with that.
Come on down, Harry.
I used fresh tarragon, but you could certainly use dried herbs if you don't have any fresh herbs. We could have done this today. Lemon and rosemary is a really well-known combination. Lemon and thyme, so I've just showed you what I might do, but there are all sorts of sort of flavor combinations that you
Very harsh.
Now, if you're interested, next time I'm planning to make Christmas puddings.
Yes.
Now, I have sent, I think Zoe has got the ingredients for this.
I have, yeah.
What I'm going to ask her to do is send them out quite early. What I've already done with my raisins, sultanas and currants is they're in soak in brandy, or it could be port or it could be sherry. And they've actually been in soak already for well over a month, probably.
Oh my goodness me. Organised.
Yes, and my Christmas cake fruit is already in soak. And do you remember we made mincemeat last time? That had been in soak for all that time as well. So literally in sort of early September, just weigh up all the ingredients, those fruit ingredients, throw them into different jars, top them up with brandy, walk away. When you get a chance, shake them up and down, and that's the end of it. They're just ready. What I do commend is that you label them.
Yes, indeed.
Which one was for Christmas mincemeat and which one was for Christmas cake? What I'm going to do is I make one, I don't know whether you can see it. This is probably a pint size pudding basin, plastic, which I will make for Christmas Day for 2 of us, because that's a really greedy amount. I have much smaller bowls that I make for the rest of the year. These Christmas puddings, we will steam them. And they will, we are still eating the ones now that I made last November. And they last all year, and Alan is rationed no more than 2 a month. And he gets none in December until Christmas Day. So he's got 4 or 5 left.
Oh, you're a hard woman, Danny.
But what I'm trying to say is these make delicious little puddings, and they last all year. Anything else from anyone else? Utter silence.
It is.
They've all gone for a lie down after all this.
All I was going to say was, I suppose the extra Christmas puddings you could give away as gifts.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
So. And so worth getting them from, buying those little pots. And I would, when we make mincemeat, I would make little jars of the mincemeat that we made, a little tiny Christmas pudding with instructions about reheating it. And that's a super thing, particularly for somebody who isn't, is living on their own. One of the things with the mincemeat, we talked about the crumble mix. We make apple crumble, but we put apples in the bottom from the garden, throw on a couple of spoonfuls of the mincemeat, toss on the crumble mix, throw that in the oven. That is delicious.
Sounds amazing.
It is amazing. Gets wolfed down in this household.
Definitely.
Okay, I will see you next time. If you're interested in Christmas puddings, and they preserve really well. And what I'll do is I'll talk to Zoe, and we'll see if we can find the link to these little pudding bowls, so that at least you know what size you can get them somewhere else.
Excellent. Well, like I say,
if you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, as most of you know, I'd like to say thank you first, Penny, for doing
Thank you
this
very much.
for us
Thank
today.
you.
Been
Thank you.
really inspiring,
Thank
and
you.
that's why we created these baking sessions, to inspire visually impaired and blind people to get in the kitchen and you know, bake and cook, and also for you guys to share your experiences and your tips, as well as Penny sharing hers. So it works really well, and I get loads I love baking, and I get loads out of it, you know, listening to the different ideas and the different techniques. It's really good. As you, most of you know, we record this, so if you have been registered for this session, we will be sending you the link, or the edited recording link, to this video, so you can watch it again in your own time, and it will also be on our YouTube channel very soon as well, and we will find those links to the different things that Penny has suggested, and put them in the description on the YouTube channel. Now, if you're interested in our next session on the 8th of November, Monday the 8th of November, the Christmas Puds, we will be creating the Eventbrite link for that very soon. But if you'd like the recipe so that you can start soaking your fruit beforehand, just ping me an email and I can send it across to you. In fact, I might just put it in the email I send out to you guys that have registered. I'll put it in that email with the link to this video. I'll also put the recipe for next month in that video, so you can start in that email, so you can start soaking your lovely fruit. And hopefully by November they would have invented smelly vision, so I can smell all those lovely fruit you're baking. But no, thanks ever so much everyone for coming along. Thank you, Penny, and we look forward to seeing you on the 8th of November.
Indeed.
Take care. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
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 To find out more about our regular baking sessions, please contact Open Sight Hampshire on 023 80 641 244 or email info@opensight.org.uk. You can also register on our Eventbrite page, and please don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms.